Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Johnson Davis versus Johnson.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Ms. Johnson and Mrs. Davis, you are here in court today to finally find out if the defendant is your biological father. You both claim at your mother's funeral a different man approached you and announced he instead is your father. Wow. Mr. Johnson, you admit you've always had doubts about your children's paternity, but say you're here today to answer 25 years worth of their questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Waiting outside the courtroom is yet another man who believes Mr. Johnson could be his father. He's also taken a DNA test and will meet him shortly. Ms. Johnson, explain to the court what happened at your mother's funeral.
Well, at the time, I haven't seen my mother in 4 years. I was at work, and that's how I found out that my mother had passed away. Now, the day of the funeral, when I had walked in, this guy had walked in behind me and put his hands around me and asked me, how is my beautiful little girl doing? Well, here at this time, I had thought that the defendant, Roger Johnson, was my biological father. And at the time, I did not know who was behind me. So, Your Honor, I'm sitting here looking, stunned and trying to figure out what is this guy talking about as far as him being my biological father.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, did you hear this?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And what was...
I told him, that these are my kids. Her father, supposed to be father, was actually a friend of her grandfather's.
Yes, Your Honor.
You knew this man already?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you grew up knowing this is just a friend of your family?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then he announces he's your father?
Yes, Your Honor. Him and my mother, when she was alive, told me.
And your mother, when she was alive, mentioned that?
Yes.
What did your mother say to you?
My mother would say that she wasn't for sure, but a lot of times she would change her mind and say that Mr. Johnson, the defendant, was my biological father. She would tell me that all the time.
So the story would go back and forth?
Yes, ma'am.
Depends on the news.
Mr. Johnson, did you ever hear anything about their mother cheating, that someone else could be the father?
Yes, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you hear specifically?
Actually, she actually told me.
She did?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did she say?
She would tell me, I'm unhappy. You're not spending the time with me. Da, da, da. And she would go off and be with these other guys while I was at work. So, come on, every man, every woman knows when their partner's cheating on them. And,
did you ever catch her? Did you ever witness firsthand?
I caught her in the man's apartment, but actually caught her activity, no.
How about you, Miss Davis? Did you ever hear anyone tell you before this incident at the funeral that someone else could be your biological father?
My mother used to take me to places like this car lot, and this guy used to work there, and she had me up in the front of the seat with her in the car, and then she looked at the guy and told him, "This is her." Now, me being young, I didn't really understand then, but once I got older, I started putting the puzzles together, and then now I know that that could have possibly been one of the guys.
Your Honor, I have proof.
Sir.
I have proof of...
You have evidence? Jerome, will you please hand me that evidence? Thank you.
That's my divorce papers.
So this is a final judgment of divorce.
Yes, Your Honor.
It says the defendant, which was your mother at the time, will not pay any child support, she having given up all parental rights to plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that would be you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor.
So she relinquished her parental rights.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so, Mr. Johnson, you raised these children on your own.
Yes, Your Honor.
But in this courtroom, you've been honest and said you had doubts.
Yes, Your Honor.
And yet you raised these girls as your own,
yes,
accepted this responsibility.
Yes, Your Honor. The mother, even though the mother told him that the other man was her father and that I wasn't the father. You know, I was there when he was born. I was there the 9 months she carried him.
I know this is tough, sir. I do. You were there for all the monumental moments.
Yeah, I mean, I was the one that taught them how to be a young lady, how to take care of themselves. That was a fun thing. That was fun. But thank God, you know, me being a tattoo artist, I know how to draw, so I was able to explain a lot of things and go on the computer, you know, pull things up.
That's smart. You did illustration, did a visual. That's smart. A very resourceful daddy you were.
And they,
I see you shaking your head, yes, Miss Johnson, and you have tears. You remember him trying to be mom and dad and explain
Yes, Your Honor.
girl things to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
He did his best.
He did the best job he could as being a father, raising children, 2 girls alone.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
For many years, Your Honor, and I loved my first wife. That was the mother of my children. But you know, and my children know, I used to pay their mother to see them. And when I said that I wasn't going to pay,
you used to have to pay
yes, Your Honor,
their mother to see them?
Yes, Your Honor. And that's the reason why it was so long, why they didn't see the mother, having to give her money just to spend time with the kids.
Oh, I understand. You're saying when you had the girls, you wanted the girls to see her.
Yes, Your Honor.
And spend time with her so they could have a mother-daughter
Yes, Your Honor.
connection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you would have to say to her, I'll give you money
Yes, Your Honor.
if you spend time with them.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
My daughters, they was too young to understand and see the things that was going on. But my son actually seen it with his own eyes and heard conversations that took place.
And so now as you look at these girls, do you see yourself in them? Do they look like you? I know physical attributes aren't everything.
Honestly, I see it in Elizabeth, but as Miss Davis, she resembles a lot of the guy that's supposed to be a father.
She does. Miss Davis, is that hard to hear your dad say?
Her mother actually took her to another lady's house, and there was a little boy there, and her mother told her that that was her half-brother or something. And that is also the same one that fathered, the same guy that was supposed to father her, fathered that child too.
And you were introduced to a little boy and told this was your half-brother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you remember that day?
I do. He does look like me a lot.
And how old were you when this happened?
I think I was probably about 6 or 7. I was very young.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Right at that point where kids start, you know, trying to figure out different things, trying to see what path they're going to go down.
Yes.
You know, that's the most vulnerable time of their life. Is
Oh, yes, it is.
Up to, you know, they're 10 years old. So that's where they was attacking the most, is when the kids were most vulnerable.
I'm so sorry you young ladies had to go through so much. I really am. And you did grow up with another brother, and he's here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Jerome, I'd like to meet him. Would you please escort him into the courtroom? Hello, sir.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, we're here with your sisters and also your dad, talking about the issues regarding their paternity. Tell me what you know exactly about the doubts surrounding their paternity.
There's a lot of doubts. My middle sister, I could see my father.
That's Miss Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Davis, I love her to pieces.
It's okay, sweetie.
But
But
here's some.
you don't see your father.
No, ma'am.
And that hurts you to have to say. I can see that. And I can imagine for all three of you, it's difficult when one family member seems to be singled out, or why is there a difference when we're all family and we all love each other equally and we all feel like we belong to our dad, which is exactly how all children should feel.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we never singled her out. She,
I don't believe you did, but what I meant by that, sir, is that others have.
yeah, and it got to her, and she got to a point to where she was trying to single herself out from the family. She actually, her husband didn't even know I was her father.
Really?
I actually...
Explain, how could he not know you were her?
From what he was told, I was just the man that raised her. And that was like taking a knife and stabbing it in my heart. It was, I got upset about it. I actually confronted Melinda about it.
You did. Ms. Davis, can you explain what happened? Was there a time when you just felt there was so much confusion?
I was young, I was rebellious. I was going through a period of time to where I said some very negative things towards my father, and I really didn't mean it. I was very confused still at that point in time.
Okay.
Your Honor, she was so confused, another man gave her away at her wedding. I wasn't even invited. I didn't even know she had got married.
I think you can hear in your father's voice how much it hurts him because he loves you, and every man wants to walk his daughter down the aisle.
Yes, ma'am.
And what's your relationship like now between the two of you?
Well, it's not good, Your Honor. It's not good at all. For a long time there, she had my number. She wouldn't call me. She wouldn't contact me.
Your Honor, I was pretty mad at him. When I had married my husband, it was a total awkwardness between me and him with my father because he did not accept my husband.
Okay. I can see the torment on your faces, Ms. Davis. I feel like there's something you want to say to your father.
I have denied him as my father. I have done a lot of hurtful things to him, and I admit I have. I'm not perfect. All I ask for is forgiveness. I don't want to do this anymore.
Your Honor, I forgive her, but you know, the main important thing here is what they got to understand. I have 7 grandchildren. 2 of my grandchildren is with her. All right, they have medical problems, the oldest one does. And when she has, I want her to understand that even though I want to know if I'm really her father, regardless if I am biological, I'm always going to be a father, she needs to know, and her children need to know, because with the medical problems they have, to run on both sides of the family, and if it takes going through this pain right now, bringing up the past, finding out the DNA to save my grandchild.
Well, let's let the healing begin and start with the truth. Jerome, let's get the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Johnson, Davis v. Johnson, as it pertains to the paternity of Roger Johnson, Jr., and as to whether Roger Johnson, Sr. is his biological father, Mr. Johnson, Sr., you are his father. Now we'll move on to the results for Ms. Johnson. In the case of Johnson, Davis v. Johnson, as it pertains to the paternity of Elizabeth Johnson, and as to whether Roger Johnson, Sr. is her biological father, Mr. Johnson, Sr., you are her father. want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. And we have one more result left as it pertains to Ms. Davis. In the case of Johnson Davis v. Johnson, as it pertains to the paternity of Melinda Davis, and as to whether Roger Johnson Sr. is her biological father, Mr. Johnson Sr., you are her father.
This closes a lot for us, even when our mother was not here.
I'm so very happy for all of you. This is why we do this every day, right, Jerome?
Absolutely right.
Every day.
Thank you.
It's to reconnect families. I wish you all the very best of luck.
Thank
Your
you,
beautiful
Mom.
family. Court is adjourned.
Thank you.
I just want to say I'm sorry that I ever doubted it.
Lost one parent. I'm just glad it happened now before we lost our last parent that we have.
Well, hopefully now that we know our answers, we can continue.
Moving forward with our relationship and become a closer bond as a family.
No doubts.